Under the dazzling lights of America's Got Talent, the energy inside the theater was electric. The audience was buzzing with chatter, the judges were settling into their seats, and anticipation filled the air. The massive AGT logo glowed behind the stage, and when the host announced the next contestant, a hush suddenly washed over the crowd. A young Filipino man slowly walked onto the stage, wearing a simple white shirt and black pants. He looked nervous, clutching the microphone tightly, but there was a certain warmth in his smile that immediately drew people in. The judges smiled encouragingly as he stopped at the center of the stage. Simon leaned forward slightly, his usual serious expression softened by curiosity. "Hello there," he said. "What's your name, and where are you from?" The young man took a small breath, his voice trembling just a little as he answered, "Hi. My name is Mark, and I'm from the Philippines." The crowd broke into applause, cheering for him. His accent was gentle, his tone humble, and his sincerity was immediately evident. Sofia Vergara smiled brightly and said, "Welcome, Mark. What are you going to sing for us today?" Mark smiled shyly and replied, "I'll be singing one of my favorite songs by Elvis Presley." The moment he said the name, Elvis, the audience murmured in excitement. Simon raised an eyebrow, visibly intrigued but also cautious. Elvis was no easy artist to cover. Before he began, there was a quick cutaway showing a short backstory. It was a montage of Mark singing in a small bar in the Philippines, his voice echoing through a humble stage made of wooden planks. In another shot, he was helping his father repair an old karaoke machine. Then, the camera cut back to the AGT stage, where Mark stood alone under the spotlight, about to chase his biggest dream. As the first soft chords of "Can't Help Falling in Love" filled the theater, the atmosphere changed instantly. The lights dimmed, and a single golden spotlight focused on Mark. He began singing the opening line, his voice gentle, controlled, and full of emotion. It wasn't just a performance, it felt like a story. His tone carried both nostalgia and tenderness, as though he was speaking directly to every heart in the room. The audience grew quiet, you could almost hear a pin drop. By the second line, people were already reacting. A woman in the front row put her hand over her heart, her eyes wide. One of the judges, Heidi Klum, whispered something softly, looking amazed. The richness of his tone, deep, velvety, and hauntingly close to Elvis's own voice, made it feel as though the king himself was back on stage. Simon's expression changed, his jaw tightened slightly, and his eyes focused on Mark. It was rare to see Simon Cowell visibly impressed so early in a performance, but it was happening. As Mark continued, his voice grew more confident. He closed his eyes on the chorus, letting the emotion carry him. The background music swelled with a soft orchestral arrangement, and the camera panned over the audience, showing faces filled with awe and tears glistening under the theater lights. The performance felt timeless, blending classic soul with genuine heart. It wasn't an imitation, it was a heartfelt tribute that brought Elvis's magic back to life. Halfway through the song, Mark hit a long, sustained note. The sound was pure and resonant, echoing through the massive hall. The audience erupted into cheers mid-song, a rare reaction for AGT. Even Simon cracked a small, almost disbelieving smile, shaking his head slightly in admiration. The camera zoomed in on him, catching a rare look of surprise and genuine respect. As the final verse approached, the lighting changed again, soft blue and gold tones bathing the stage. Mark lifted his hand, slightly, his voice trembling with passion as he sang the final lines. Then came the moment everyone would remember, the last note. He held it, strong and steady, with perfect control and depth, and when it ended, the room exploded. People were on their feet instantly, clapping, cheering, and shouting. The camera panned across the crowd, some were crying, others simply stunned into silence before joining the applause. Mark lowered the microphone slowly, his chest rising and falling as he tried to catch his breath. Tears welled in his eyes. He couldn't believe what he was hearing, the standing ovation from thousands of people, the applause echoing endlessly. He pressed a hand to his heart, bowing his head as the audience chanted, "Golden Buzzer. Golden Buzzer." Simon leaned back in his chair for a moment, still clapping, his face unreadable. Then he stood up. The theater got even louder as people realized what was about to happen. Simon walked to his microphone, his voice calm but full of emotion. "I've heard so many people try to sing Elvis," he began. "Most of them, they copy the voice, but they miss the soul. He paused, looking directly at Mark. You didn't just sing like Elvis. You sang with the heart he had. And that's what made it so special. The crowd erupted again. Simon's hand moved toward the golden buzzer, and the other judges looked thrilled. Sophia covered her mouth, Heidi clapped excitedly, and Howie Mandel smiled wide, nodding in approval. Simon looked at Mark one last time, smiled faintly, and pressed the golden buzzer. Instantly, the theater filled with the sound of the signature golden buzzer chime. Gold confetti burst from above, showering the stage in a glittering storm of light. Mark's eyes widened in disbelief, his hands flying to his face as tears began streaming down his cheeks. He dropped to his knees, overcome with emotion. The audience cheered louder, some jumping to their feet and waving their arms in joy. Simon walked over to the stage, smiling genuinely, something the show rarely saw. He reached out and gave Mark a handshake that turned into a quick hug. Mark looked around, still crying, as the golden confetti continued to fall like rain. The camera zoomed in on his face, pure shock and joy mixed into one unforgettable expression. The host ran up the stairs to join him on stage, shouting over the noise, "You got the golden buzzer, Mark. You're going straight to the live shows." Mark could barely speak. Through tears, he said softly, thank you so much, this means everything." The audience clapped rhythmically, still standing. In the background, the music swelled again, this time playing an instrumental version of the same Elvis song he had just sung. It was as if the moment had come full circle. As Mark exited the stage, the camera followed him backstage, where his family and friends were waiting. His mother, who had been watching from the side, rushed forward to hug him tightly. She was crying, telling him in Tagalog, "Ang galing mo anak. You made us so proud." The camera caught the raw emotion, the proud tears, the laughter, and the disbelief. Mark kept repeating, "I can't believe it. I can't believe Simon pressed the golden buzzer." Meanwhile, the judges continued to talk about him on stage. Howie said, "That was absolutely beautiful. That's not just a performance, that's a memory we'll all carry." Sophia added, "He had such a calm energy, but the moment he started singing, it was like Elvis was alive again." Simon, still smiling faintly, nodded and said, "That's the magic of this show, you never know when someone will walk in and completely move you. That's what music should do." The episode ended with a replay montage of Mark's performance, the nervous walk to the stage, the first note, Simon's astonished expression, and finally, the glittering rain of golden confetti falling around him. Over the clip, the narrator's voice said, "From a small town in the Philippines to the world stage, this is what dreams are made of." The closing shot was slow motion. Mark standing in the middle of the golden storm, tears on his face, his hands raised toward the ceiling lights. Behind him, the AGT logo glowed brightly, symbolizing hope, talent, and dreams that reach across oceans. The crowd's cheers faded into a soft echo as the music played the last line of the song he sang. "Take my hand, take my whole life too, for I can't help falling in love with you." It was more than just a performance. It was a moment of truth, a reminder that talent knows no borders, and that a humble dream from halfway across the world can touch millions. Even Simon Cowell, the toughest judge of all, had been left speechless by the voice of a Filipino who dared to sing Elvis, and made the world believe again.